Hello learner, welcome back to my video lecture on computer networks and security with the subject code 18CS52. In the last video, we have seen about a router. In this video, I will be discussing about the queuing part of a router. That means we will be discussing on why queuing is required in a router and where does queuing happens and some of the aspects of queuing in the routers. During the discussion of a router, we have seen that in a router, input port, switching fabric and output port plays an important role in forwarding a packet from one end to other end. Whenever the speed of the switching fabric is not matching with the input port and output port speed, then there is a need for temporary storage to store the packets temporarily whenever the switching fabric is processing or transferring the other packets. So packet queues may form at the both input ports and the output port. We know that the queue size is not infinite. That is why these queue grow large. The router's memory can eventually be exhausted. Whenever there is no space for packet to store temporarily, there will be a packet loss. We will consider some of the parameters to understand how exactly queuing happens. We consider R line is the transmission rate of n number of input port and output port or lines, and R switch is the switch fabric transfer rate. If R switch is n times faster than R line, then negligible queuing will occur at the input port. For example, consider all the input port takes one packet at a time, and we consider this switching fabric transfer the packet n times faster. In this case, 3 times faster. So with this case, there will be negligible queuing happens at the input port. That means whenever one packet comes at each of the input port, all the 3 packets will be transmitted eventually. But what happens at the output port? Because normally output port will not work as faster as switching fabric. So we will have a question that what exactly happens at the output port. In order to understand queuing at output port, let's suppose consider that R switch is still n times faster than R line. That means transfer rate of output port and input port is n times smaller, or R switch, that is transfer rate of this switching fabric is n times faster. And we'll consider that the packets arriving at each of the n input port are destined to the same output port. As given in the image or diagram, we consider that we have 3 input port and 3 output port. For an example, at a given time t, 3 packets are coming into the switching fabric. That means at each input port, 1 packet comes into the switching fabric. And all these 3 packets are destined to the same output port, that is first topmost output port. Now what happens after 1 packet time later? You can see here, since the switching fabric is n times faster than the input port, all the 3 packets will be transferred to the output port at a time. Now all the 3 packets will be transferred to this particular output port, and eventually only one packet will be transferred. That means we have the output rate is only, it is same as the input port. That means only one packet will be transferred per packet time. Remaining two packets has to be stored in the output port. For that we require a temporary storage. That's what we call it as queue. So here, whenever the output port rate is lesser than the switching fabric, then obviously there is a need for uh, queuing or buffering the packets. And eventually, since there are two more packets at first input port and last input port, that particular packet will be inside this particular queue of the input port. That is why we can say that the queuing need to be happened at the output port as well as input port. Whenever there is a difference between the speed of the switching fabric and input port as well as output port. So we have seen that whenever there is a fluctuation in the traffic load, there is a need for buffer spaces at input port as well as at the output port. Now, what should be the size of these buffers? According to the thumb rule, it is given that the buffer space B should be equal to RTT into C, that is link capacity. This result is based on the analysis of the queuing dynamics of relatively small number of TCP flows. That means this particular rule is considered whenever we have a small number of TCP flows. For example, if we consider 10 Gbps is the link capacity and RTT is equal to 250 millisecond, then for this case, the buffer space required will be approximately 2.5 gigabits buffers. For large number of TCP flows, say n, then the amount of buffering needed is RTT into C by square root of n. That means with this buffer space, we can say that whenever number of TCP flows is more, then buffer space required will be less. Whenever we queue the packets at the output port, this makes us the requirement for packet scheduler. Which packet from which queue need to be taken first and need to be transferred. That is called as packet scheduler. There are different packet scheduler algorithm is defined like first in first out. That means whichever packet comes first into the packet output port, that need to be taken out first. And sometimes we consider priority queuing. That means based upon the priority given to the queue, we will consider the packet need to be taken first from that queue. And sometimes we also consider weighted fair queuing. That means some of the weightage will be given for the each queue. Based upon that weightage, the packet will be removed from the queue. So these are the different types of packet scheduler we have. This is not the actual point of discussion. So just I have given some of the packet scheduler algorithms, whatever we use in the networking. The packet scheduling algorithm plays a crucial role in providing quality of service guarantees. So the quality of service plays an important role in the network to give the particular service for the packets or the connection. So this particular packet scheduler provides or it plays an important role in providing quality of service for the packet or the connection. How do we manage the buffer space? What if not enough memory to buffer an incoming packet? That means whenever an incoming packet arrives at the output port, if there is no enough memory, what exactly happens? In this scenario, a decision will be taken based upon the some of the criteria. Sometimes we will be dropping the arriving packet. This policy is called as drop tail, or one or more already queued packets will be taken from the output port in order to make a room for arriving packet. In some cases, it may be advantageous that we will be dropping the packets or marking the packets before before the buffer becomes full, so that this will be an indication for the sender about the congestion. Collectively, we can say that these are the algorithms which are mainly used for active queue management. That is why all these algorithms which are used for managing the buffer space are called as active queue management algorithms. In this algorithm, sometimes packets will be dropped based upon some criteria, and some packets will be marked based upon some policies. One of the most widely studied and implemented active queue management algorithm is random early detection. In random early detection, we consider the minimum threshold and maximum threshold and the probability of packet drop. As given in the diagram, we consider x-axis is the average queue length and y-axis as the probability of packet drop. Whenever the average queue length of the output port is below the minimum threshold, then there will not be any drop of packets. Once the average queue length reaches minimum threshold, then some of the packets will be dropped or marked based upon the probability. And this will increase whenever the average queue length increases up to maximum threshold. This will be the indication for the sender to reduce the rate of sending of packets. And once the average queue length reaches maximum threshold, the packet drop will increase up to 1. The probability of packet drop will increase drastically up to 1, and after this value, all the packets will be dropped and no more packets will be allowed to enter into the output queue. This is how random early detection works to manage the queue at the output port or input port. Now we will see some of the aspects of queuing at input port. We know that if the switching fabric is not fast enough to transfer all the arriving packets through the fabric without delay, then packet queuing can also occur at the input port. To understand this, we will consider a crossbar switch fabric, and we consider that all the link speeds are identical and only one packet can be transferred from any one input port to a given output port, and packets are moved from given input queue to the desired output queue in a FCFS manner, that is first come first serve manner. Here is the diagram for our consideration. We consider that there are two packets are queued at first input port, and all these two packets are need to be destined to this particular output port, and we have one packet queued at second input port, and this is destined for third output port, and we have two packets in the third input port. Out of this, first packet is destined to first output port and the second packet is destined for middle output port. Now whenever we have this consideration, whenever a packet is taken from first input port, eventually we can able to transfer the packet from second input port to third output port. But what is the case for this particular packet? That is the second packet of the third input port. Since one packet is transferring to first output port, we cannot take one more packet to the same output port. So here we can say that this particular packet need to be waited. So since we are considering first come first serve basis, until unless this particular packet is transferred to the output port, we cannot consider or we cannot transfer the second packet of the third input port. Even though the second output port is free, we can able to transfer because of the first packet in the third input port is queued. we cannot consider or we cannot transfer the second packet of the third input port. So this type of blocking of packets because of the other packets is called as head of the line blocking. This is one of the problem we face in this particular queuing mechanism. That's all about queuing and where and how queuing happens and some of its aspects. Now we will discuss something about routing control plane. Till now whatever we have discussed regarding input port, output port and switching fabric, these three things comes under forwarding control plane. All these things will be controlled by routing control plane. During the discussion of router, we have implicitly assumed that the routing control plane fully decides and executes in a routing processor. But it's not the case in reality. Network-wide routing control plane is decentralized. That means in different routers, we will be running the routing algorithms and the information will be exchanged by using some of the APIs. In some router, the control plane architecture may be implemented in different part. That means some part of the control plane is implemented in the router. For example, the local measurements, that is information for forwarding the packets, reporting of link state, what is the state of the particular link, and forwarding table installation and maintenance. So these things will be inside the router, and part of the control plane can be implemented externally to the router. That means, for example, centralized in some other centralized server can be implemented the remaining part. For example, it may be the route calculation. So once we calculate the route in some other server, so that information will be fed into the different routers based upon the some of the APIs. So in order to exchange this information, we will be using well-defined APIs. So we can say that the routing control plane is not implemented 100% inside a router, so it is decentralized. Finally, I will summarize the concepts whatever I have discussed in this video. Initially, we have discussed what is the need for queuing, how does queuing happens at input port and output port and its aspects, how do we calculate the space, that is buffer space required at the input port and output port, how do we manage queue, that is active queue management algorithm, and we have discussed one of the most important algorithm, that is random early detection, and finally we have discussed about a routing control plane. Thank you for watching my video. We'll meet in the next video.